Good evening, all. How are you, Dale?
Good, Howard. Yourself?
Late again, mate.
Always.
So, just so everyone knows, we actually do this after work. So, by the time we get here and get organised, it's about, 10 or something at the moment. So, we got to sort of hype ourselves and go out. But, mate, what an opening. Like, that car went everywhere, didn't it?
Mate, we've done some miles in it, haven't you?
I did. I
think
can't remember what it was, but
I'm sure it was over 5,000.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
At least, yeah.
Because we did, and you'll see in the show, but it went to Newcastle a couple of times, Canberra numerous times, obviously around the Illawarra, up to Sydney
heaps.
Power Cruise, all that sort of stuff. So all events you'll see, the car was driven there, through the gear in the boot, and away we went. So let's get on with it.
Let's do that.
But before we do today, I'm going to thank everyone now, because I know by the time we get to the end, half of them are gone anyhow. So thanks for joining us.
Yep.
Thanks to Lovels for helping us bring the show along, because without them it doesn't happen.
No, that's right.
Well, it'll take a whole lot longer anyhow. So really appreciate their support, and I appreciate your support, because without you guys watching, we wouldn't be still doing it.
So if you like what you see, hit the like, hit the subscribe, the notification, ring that bell, all that stuff.
All that stuff.
It just helps with us bringing you content.
That's for sure. And thank you to Louise for the great job she's done. My daughter does all the editing, and she comes in 4 mornings a week. So let's get on with it. So we finished last time, we moved, we built a house, we finished the Mustang, we started cruising around.
Yep.
And I said, one more and we'd be finished. Well, I didn't think I'd done much since I got over here, but it proved to be not the case. And, family's growing and all sorts of things are happening. So there'll be this one and one more after that.
A dozen's an even number, isn't it?
That's true.
That's
true.
12 episodes should pull it up.
So let's get into it. So I said last time we need to find a job, because all we're doing is spending money. And we decided to go into retail, because we'd always been in hospitality.
Yep.
So, food, beds, all that sort of stuff.
You've done a bit of retail in Broken Hill.
We did a little bit of retail, and unfortunately that wasn't very successful out there because of a whole lot of reasons. We talked about, the boom and doom of mining towns. So I must have brought some of that with me, because we went into retail and we built a really nice, what I thought was a really cool shop. And it was called Man Talk, and it was gifts for men.
And it was a cool shop.
If we had charged an entry fee, we would have made money, because people used to come in just to check it out. So anyhow, we had a look around, and at the time we were looking to set it up, we basically couldn't find any retail premises. It was very difficult to find somewhere. And the country was on a boomer. Wollongong was going super strong. We ended up finding a place at Fairy Meadow, which is a strip shop type place, which is what we wanted. We didn't want to get tied into a shopping centre, and have to work every day but Christmas Day, because we'd done that pretty much all our life. So we decided to go down the track of 5.5 days a week. So we ended up with this building, and it was an ex-bank.
Yes.
So we needed to do a reno. So of course, when you need to do a reno, you try and do as much as you can yourself.
You've had experience.
Exactly. And you rope in people you've met that might be able to give you a hand. So
a painter.
That's the old Phil Kerjane, the painter.
Yes.
So I'd obviously got to know Phil through the Mustang, and obviously a car guy and a burnout guy, and you'll see some more of him in this. He
makes a few
appearances. So I roped Phil in, and he wasn't overly rapt about doing it. But anyhow, we did that, and that's Lee with his back to us. So Lee had moved over this way as well now. And then I got a contractor to come in and do the fit out. And the plan was to have a shop that was really nice to look at, a bit like the room we're in here, similar colours, the wall colours and all the same as here. And then some really cool signage and stuff. So that's us there when we got started. So Louise is obviously pretty young then, and she did a really good job. And we were in this 5 years. We signed a 5-year lease, and pretty much within a couple of weeks of signing the lease, they announced, they forecast the global financial crisis. So it really made life very difficult for retail. But I'd signed a lease and I'd given a personal guarantee. So we were in for the long haul. So obviously Heather, myself and Louise, I've got me work shirt on.
Yeah.
The car shirt.
As
you do. And there's the Mustang out the front of the shop. So we designed all the signage with a local guy here, and then inside the shop we had a range of gifts that went from, you know, the AC/DC, you can see Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, cigarette lighters, all sorts of stuff, right through to chess sets, and it was a cool shop. I thought
it was a very cool shop. Yep, I used to like going and spending time in there, just having a look around, checking it out.
Used to help out when we went away. So that was the shop. It was up and running, and we're struggling a little bit. And in the process of moving over here, some of the things that I'd always wanted to do, and part of the reason to move with the cars side of things, was that you're closer to the action. And I'd always thought it would be really cool to write for a magazine. And I'd sort of, you know, made a few suggestions here and there that never really came to anything when I lived in the hill. But over here it seemed to be a little bit different. So I ended up with an opportunity to write for Street Fords magazine. And I did that for many editions. So I would think 2 or 3 years. And I've just got a couple of the ones here that, and what it was about me talking about different things. So, you know, Colour Me Bad was about how do you pick a colour for your car. Burn Baby Burn was about all the things that caught on fire when you were doing stuff. So, you know, whatever it was about. When we were going to the summer nats at Christmas time and, you know, doing shows and panel vans. So we did all of that, and I really enjoyed it, but it was a real challenge because, you know, with all those other initials I got behind my name, I'm dyslexic as well. So it was a little bit of a... one of those things where you're trying to work out how do I write it, because I'd never passed English the whole time I went to school. So it was really a way of trying to write it in a way that if I was talking here now, is how I tried to write it. And people told me that's the way it come across. So must have worked because they kept me on for a fair time, I think, until such time.
Well, you love a good deadline, Howard, didn't you? And there was plenty of deadlines
every month there was a deadline. So you needed photos, you needed a story, and it was 1,000 words. So so that was just something that was almost a bucket list tick for that one. And then the next photo I've got here now, this little piece of jewellery, I designed up because when my mum passed, when we sort of did the breakup of you know, all the bits and pieces, there was an emerald ring that Dad had given Mum, so an emerald and a couple of diamonds, that had been sitting in the drawer, and Heather said, I want you to do something with that ring for yourself. And I think it was one of our anniversaries, might have been our 30th, I would imagine, 30th wedding anniversary. So I've got this ring and I've got some shapes, and then I'm trying to work out, if I'm going to do this, I need to do it something that's a bit car orientated. So what you're looking at there is the bottom end of a conrod. So I found a jeweller that had done a little bit of work for us with some rings for Heather. And it's done in white gold, and all the gold in the ring was all of the jewellery from Mum that Heather was never going to wear. So I gave the guy all the jewellery, he melted the jewellery down to create the gold. So it's got, you know, the gold in the middle, and then the outside is what they call white gold, which I didn't know at the time, but apparently it's just rhodium plated. And then the little stars that hold the diamonds in is the multi-stud ARPs. So that was just one of those things. So
that's why they call you the King of Bling.
The King of Bling, mate. That's it. That's it. And it's got my name on him, so I don't lose it.
So you remember who you are.
That's it. Yeah. What's your name? Oh, yeah. So that was another thing that Heather pushed me to do, and I was happy I did, and I still got it, obviously, and I still wear it. So that's pretty cool. And then the next one here was another bucket lister. So all these things are starting to happen because I think we're over here and we're a bit closer to the coalface.
Finger on the pulse.
And this was, I got that call, you know, we'd like you to do an expression session. Celebrity status.
So they called you a celebrity.
That's it. Yeah. And when, I can't think who I was talking to. Might have even been Craig Parker, I think. Anyhow, whoever rang me said, we want you to do it, you know, you got any thoughts? I go, 49, single spinner. And they've gone, Howard,
what?
Why are you all you street machiners want to do an expression session on a custom? So this is it, and what you're looking at there, Dale, is the front on shot there. It's got a roll pan front, you know, French headlights, the section through the bonnet. There's a list of about 20 body mods to it, and the paintwork that we're looking at from the rear there, all of those palm trees and stuff, the plan was that would be all airbrushed on. So no matter where that car was, that's how it would look. It would look like
So it looked like a
at the
mural
beach.
and on
Yeah,
the beach.
yeah. So it'd be airbrushed on.
Yep.
And the rear quarters on there are Zephyr quarters, and then the rear bumpers take off of the 63 Corvette.
I can see that.
You can see that. And then obviously chopped.
Yep.
And then all the guards are rolled and, big wheels. And I think by memory it was, a Weber whatever back in the 90s. Yeah, cool thing. So that, when I talk now on the channel when we go to Cooley Rocks or whatever and there's a single spinner, there it is.
That's Howard's version
That's
of a
Howard's
single
version.
spinner.
That's it. So that was another one, another tick done. And I've got a whole lot of photos now of all the shows we were going to and the cruising around because the focus had become, I'd started playing golf again. So we got the shop and I'm doing a few shows and I'm starting to think I really need to find some external income because the shop's hurting a bit, we're not really making any dollars. And you'll see the progression through that, but we're really enjoying the Illawarra. And you recognise where we are there, Dale.
Yep, that's my hill.
That's
Bald Hill.
Yeah. So that's up near the bridge, whatever the bridge is called.
Seacliff Bridge.
Seacliff Bridge that goes out over the water.
Stanmore Park.
And that day, obviously Louise was with us. That's Louise and I there, and we'd taken the Mustang for a run. I don't know if that's the day we went up through the National Park a couple of times, a really cool road that goes from there up to Sydney Way. So we're enjoying the Illawarra and all it has to offer. And at that time, I don't know where it had come about, but I was talking to Arby about things, and he said, look, I'm looking to go to Drag Challenge in the US, and I'm going to redo War 440. Would you be interested in giving me a hand? And I went, well, let's talk about it. What are we doing, and what are you after? And his idea was to basically clean it up, run on the Pro Charger, and get it all slicked up, take it over to the US, run Drag Week,
represent Australia as
yeah. And part of the reasoning behind my involvement is he really wanted to be a bit nicer. So he'd always said that he was into the engineering and all the big and better performance stuff, but not necessarily a really show-worthy car, I guess is the word. So I got involved, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't be talking about it. So that was his concept there, the concept drawing. And my role then was to sit down and plan the build with Mark, with all the other people he had involved in it. So Sumo Fab did the fab work, and Kingpin up at Newcastle did the paint work, and then someone did the blasting, all that sort of stuff. So my role, the car came here, and you were involved in that.
Yeah, you're almost project managing it, weren't you?
Pretty much, yeah. And then I was doing all of the little showy car fab stuff. And part of that, you'll see all of that in the build series. So there was a lot of mods done to the dash. You can see there where that's Phil Kurjan there doing some lines on it. So Phil did all of the lines, and there was 1 million lines on the car for all sorts of fluids. And then his mate Jimbo was hanging around, helping out as well. And
don't hang around, you get a job.
You get a job, that's it. And then that's Sam up at West End Performance that Mark's worked with for many, many years. And the motor was put together up there. Mark was involved in that, and then obviously dynoed and run. And speak of the devil, there you are there. And on this particular day, Mark used to bring down all these boxes of odds and sods that he'd lost, found, or scored, or acquired from somewhere. And he ran a business for a while. He used to import stuff, mainly, Mopar gear and that. So he had all these bits and pieces. So we're looking to do that. Obviously, Phil Kurjan there. Piltsy, the electrical guy, one of Mark's mates. And then I think that's Sumo in the background.
But I know that wheel's not off Arby's car.
That's not off Arby's car. So
no.
Jimbo, that I just mentioned, Phil's mate, he's got a ute, and he decided he's going to
you'll see more on that.
Put some rubber under it. So we'll look at that because I ended up with a job. So part of the process, that planning process, is I got Johnny Aristis at PPG to get involved to help with the colour selection. So Mark had a concept drawing and an idea and a direction, and then what we needed to do was to tie that together. And what I like to do is to get the carpet, the leather, any other trim components, and then Mark already had seat belts and stuff, so I needed to work out what colours we already had and then match those to the paint colours that we're going to use, rather than pick the paint colour, then go to the trimmer and say, you need to match to this. Because in paint you've got a million options, whereas in carpet there's not, 4.
Much easier to change.
So it's easy to go the other way. So that's what that was all about. And then this is it taking over the whole shed. So the counter's on the left, the electric's on the floor, everything's happening all at the same time. So obviously the car's painted now, and we're starting to do fit up, and Phil, just like I said, had a million jobs to do. And we'll go through that in the build series. And these are the photos when it was shot for Street Machine magazine. And we thrashed here on the last day. Mark and I worked right through the night.
Yes.
And then we had to be up there to do the photo shoot like at 11 o'clock or something in the morning. And I was meant to be driving up, and Phil was here, and he said, like, I might come up. I said, good, because I don't think I can drive. And he drove me up, and I slept in the car on the way up because I was spent totally. So you can see a bit of my style and flavour in the car, I guess, and the colour coordination and bringing all those things together,
tied together
to make it look like a really sharp car, and it really did. And the engine bay was just, something out of the...
It's too good for a drag week car, really.
I mean, that's what happened. I think it got to that point where, and I can talk all day about it, and we'll do that in the build series, just about the problems it makes for somebody when you make a car that good. It's a bit hard to lean over the guard in a hurry when you're trying to fix something at the track. So the next photo coming up now is some medals. So, long story short, there were some issues with all sorts of things in Australia at the time with drag strips and all sorts of stuff for testing. I think Mark had a bit of a drama with the engine, and in the end it didn't go to the States. So it stayed, and he got it sorted, and it did run some times, but it ended up doing a few shows. So the medals there you'll see now are from Street Elite at Motorex, and that was 2011. You can see on the medals there. And I'd already taken the Mustang up, I think 2010. You and I give it a birthday, and
yes, that's when I started getting involved.
And then we went up, and I had a trade stand at that show at 2011, looking for the next customer, because I'd done this with Mark, and I thought, look, this is an opportunity. This will help offset the dramas at the shop. And in doing so, PPG had actually put on an event leading up to Motorex, so that people that had travelled to Sydney for Motorex could go to the show, and it was the Masters of Custom, and they had 3 guys there from the States. So you got Gene Winfield in the blue overalls, and then Charlie Hutton, and John Agostino that builds really cool custom cars. And I don't know if you met him up at the Hot Rod Show. He was at the Hot Rod Show. And he was out just for the Hot Rod Show, and I think he shot an ad for one of the insurance companies. So those guys were there, and what it was a 2-day event, and you got to spend half a day with each of these guys to explain to you how they run their business and how it works. And it was really cool. And Airbrush Venturi were there doing an airbrush there, and that's the owner there. And he did that, and there's the 3 guys and the three pictures on there. And I've always been intrigued by airbrush, and I keep tripping over it seems. So I'm thinking that something needs to happen.
Tickled your creative side.
It did, mate. It really was very clever. And the guy right in the middle there is Santino. And I'd met Santino somewhere else, I think at the Hot Rod Show. And I'd been able to range through these guys to actually do the rocker covers for me. And they were silver with the Howard Astill on. And then we're going black with the new Astill design logo. So it was like a 4 or 5 stage process, and they did that on the day while the event was happening, because they had 2 or 3 booths at the TAFE going, and they painted one of Mario's panel van, the blue one. It was up at the Hot Rod Show. Well, they painted that as well. So that was the new look, and then they were bolted on. We stuck them under the infrared and bolted them on while we're at
as it was on display,
and then off to the Motorex. So the photo there of Fuzzy and young Trav, because they'd come over for Motorex to have a bit of a look, and I'm obviously talking to them, and I said, look, come out here, you can give me a hand load the car and you can check out these guys and what's going on. So they come out to help move the car back over and grabbed a happy snap.
Yep.
And that's me and Charlie with the Mustang, because the Mustang was on display. They had about 5 or 6 cars there as part of that
If you
event.
look behind Charlie, there's probably no rocket covers on there at that
Yeah,
stage.
I think because the bonnet's up, I've probably got them back on by then. So we left there. That was like finished on the Friday, and then Friday Arvo took it in and set it up. And like I said, I had a trade stand, because now that I'm starting to do this, I need to get another customer and work out how we're going to go forward. And we always talk about how small the world is, and what happened at that event. Fuzzy had come over with another guy from Broken Hill, and they'd been working on a two-door Falcon that turned out to be the Cool Mint Coupe.
Yes.
And they were looking for someone to do the body work, and I think I got some slides in here, and I'll talk about when I get to that. So they were at Motorex.
Yep.
So I'm there to try and find a customer, and pretty much that's what happened. So that was the stand. So I'd re-entered the car. I mean, I'm there, I'm set up, I'm all cleaned up, and the car did really well. And that's me up on the stage picking up a few more trophies, mate.
Did better than well, Howard.
Which is what it's all about. So there's 2 or 3 of those were from that event. There's a few more there probably from another one. But the major one, and the one I got behind me is somewhere, is this one. So that was the Street Elite. And that's solid.
That is solid.
Piece of billet aluminium. Very nice trophy. So that one sits pride of place in with Street Machine of the Year and some of that's Grand Champion, all those sorts of things in the main cupboard. So Astill Design had a big event. Arby got 4 event medals, I think. We had 3 or 4 in the Pinnacle. And
now, can I interrupt? Because the Mustang nearly didn't make it to Motorex. Because there was a little story. Now, Howard always told me when I was helping polish the car and doing some little bit of work that I could help with, never wear a belt buckle, never wear jeans, that sort of stuff when you're working on a car, because you scratch it and all that sort of stuff. So, okay, wear your tracksuit pants and all that sort of stuff. We're loading the car on the back of the car trailer, and we're using the winch to pull it in, and the winch cable was all right, but where we'd attached it to the car snapped. And Howard's in the front of the trailer, and the Mustang
is going its own
way out through the doors and into the heading towards the big toolbox. Luckily, Dale was standing near the open driver's door and dove through the window and ripped the handbrake on.
Clever boy.
It's just a reaction.
I'm trying to remember what you did. I thought, did he push it?
No. I ripped the handbrake on.
It was lucky the handbrake worked then.
We were lucky the handbrake worked. And I said to Hal, what would you have done? He said, well, couldn't have done anything. He said, what, you would have let it hit the toolbox? But anyway, we saved that.
Dale saved the day.
Dale saved the day. So that's my one claim to fame. I'm going to stick to that.
I thought, where's this story going? Done, Dale. Well done.
Well, we made it up. Motorex. Mightn't have got a Pinnacle
trophy.
Motorex.
That's true. That's true. So we've done Motorex.
Yep.
We've seen the wheel earlier from Jimbo's Ute. So Jimbo's got the bright green, I don't know, my old VR, VS.
Commodore
Ute. And he's got those wheels, so we've got to work out some way of making them fit. So the quickest way is to make a bit of room. So we get the plasma out, and that's the tyre. So if my memory serves me correct, they were 20x15 and a very large tyre. And the plan was to cut out what we needed to cut out, put a clip in it. So he'd bought the rails and a 4-bar kit and had a diff made. And then my job was to put the rails in, work out a height and all that sort of stuff, and then fabricate the rear end. And it sort of got a bit carried out. Oh, there you are, Dale. So you and Jimbo?
Yep.
Operation remove the rear.
Yeah, no flaw.
So we cut all that out and we rolled up. So Jimbo's family have got a sheet metal business. So, he's pretty handy as well. So he's helping me. So I got a set of rolls and stuff. So we basically did a cardboard design, bit of CAD, cardboard assisted design.
That's it.
And made up the tubs and then inner tubs. And that's at the point where Jimbo's going, what have I done?
What did I bite off?
So the diff ended up with those wheel size under a metre wide. It was
Yep.
990 mil wide or
It
something.
looked like it was out of a top fueler. It was so small.
So we made up, a framework, welded it into the body, and the aim here was to be a burnout car.
Yep.
So it was never about street rego or any of that sort of stuff.
A little illegal for that.
Yeah, not for me to reason why. It was like, this is what I want to do.
Yep.
So I had Jimbo on the tools all the way through, and he was pretty handy. And then you can see the boxes at the back there. It was all about putting in batteries and
Yep.
somewhere to put the tinnies and your tools and the airbag bloody motors and all sorts of stuff. So, big ass stiff, strange brakes, all the fruit.
Very heavy duty.
Yeah, looked pretty cool. So there's a photo somewhere in later of it cruising at the Summer Nats, and I'm not sure where the car's gone now, whether he's still got it or what he's doing with it, but it never progressed to the full burnout stage. But he did give it a bit of... I remember we were at a golf day, one of Phil's golf days, and he turned up in there, just drove in the gate, and there it was. So that was Jimbo's ute, and we're starting to now pick up a few bits and pieces, but it's party time.
And the Astills like a good party.
So this is Heather's 50th.
Yes.
So I've had mine, so now it's Heather's, and this one is a fancy dress, and there was
Elvis is in the
4
building.
categories by memory. So it was Grease, Mad Max, they're all movies, they're 4 movies, and there was The Great Gatsby or something like that. So anyhow, it's something for everybody.
You're testing my memory.
Something for everybody. And I don't know where I was coming from, but I'm hoping it
You're
was
in
Greece.
Greece. Yeah.
So I emptied the shed out and put some black plastic over the bench and had the projector going up on the wall with the movies that were the show, and put the plastic around the side, and then we had a 2-piece live band playing. It was a pretty cool night.
It was a very good night.
And I don't remember how many people, but there was like 6 or 8 tables of 10, and it was a great night.
Good night.
So there's a good
boys.
shot for the boys to check out.
Adrian's serious.
So Adrian's serious Adrian, because I tried. There was a few photos, and that was the best one out of all of them. That's Jimbo, and then myself, obviously, and Phil.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. And I don't know who that is.
And I'll skip over that one. Next.
So Dale, I still haven't worked out
That's
what
all right.
movie you were out of.
I don't remember. I think I was high.
Yeah, probably by the look of it. Peace, man. So Heather was,
Heather
the
was
cake.
happy. That's
Heather
the
was
main
happy.
thing.
You were still on the line. Well, look at them pants.
I just like
Walton.
those loud pants.
You like the bench, mate? See the hoist
Yes.
there holding the table up?
Very handy.
So we just get over the birthday, and it's wedding
More
time.
celebrations.
Wedding time. So Louise and Michael were tying the knot, and Louise organised the whole wedding with military precision. It was an
Pretty good at that.
unbelievable day, and these obviously shots were at home. So, and I hadn't even thought of it. Louise said, "I want to do a photo with the Mustang." I said, "Righto." So we set up out the front, did that photo, and then obviously the church, doing the happy snaps with the professional photographer and all that sort of stuff, and then you can't fault the car choice for the wedding.
It's the only reason he's still a son-in-law. But anyway.
He's got a Holden, but of
He
course
has,
he had
but-
Fords, so I
but
don't know
he
whether
likes his Fords.
I don't know where that come from. He actually wanted an XY,
Yeah.
but he ended up with a Commodore. So yeah, great day, and always an opportunity for a family photo, all on the glad rags.
Yep.
So went off without a hitch. It was a great night.
Yep.
Really enjoyed it, and still together, still going strong. Couple
Yes.
of grandkids,
Yep.
all that sort of stuff. So really good. So the shop's sort of struggling along. You know, it's paying the bill, but it's not making any money. So I'm looking for odds and sods to do. And one of my neighbours came down to see me. He said, "Look, I've got a mate with a 180B Datsun, and it's missing a couple of parts. You know, you might be able to help me. You can't buy them anywhere." So I said, "Send him around." So he come around. He's got a 180B Triple S.
Pretty rare.
Pretty rare. And the guy at that point in time was probably 60.
Yep.
And he'd always had one or had this one or whatever, and had been in a paint shop, been redone, and they'd lost that black hockey stick shape bit
Yeah.
there.
Never heard that story ever before, have we? Yeah.
Lost both sides somewhere along the line, but they had the mouldings and all. So I ended up fabricating that piece out of some flat sheet, and made it out of 2 or 3 pieces, and bogged it up and give it a coat of paint and got it all back together, and he was tickled pink. So it was just a little job, and then that sort of led into this little job deal, I think.
It was one of those many little jobs.
One of the many little jobs. So my brother-in-law, Colleen's husband, Keith, he's into motorbikes, and he's got a bit of a collection of 70s era bikes, and he was saying, I've got some badges here, I can't buy any new ones. So he sent down some Honda badges off an American, was an import model, and he sent that up to me, and I give that a bit of a tidy up and painted it, and the red candy in there was off Rock 3, because I still had some.
Of course it was.
Of course it was.
Don't throw anything out, so you never know it's valuable.
And I sent them up, and he goes, they look like new. I go, well, that's what I do. I seem to have trouble getting people to understand
King of
that.
Bling, don't they understand?
So things that obviously have a bit to do with Kurgene now. So Phil's, I'm starting to hang out with the guys he hangs out with, and I'm meeting more and more people in the car game. And with his wagon, he's on this progression. It's always something going on, and that's still the case today. And part of the thing was Tough Street. And as we know now, the car's called Tough Street, as on the number plate. And the artwork and all that's on it now, well, it's got wrap over it at the moment, but it had all the cars and all from Tough Street. We were talking one day, we were having a few drinks, and he said, I'd really like to have a go at Tough Street. I said, well, I'm happy to give you a hand. I'll help you where I think you need to do things from a judging perspective. So I got involved, and we started just doing that as a mate, you know. So I ended up polishing the car, and it's always a good story, because he turned up, like the car come over, and he turned up the next day, we're going to do the job, and he walks in, I've got a back brace on, an elbow brace on, and a knee brace. He said, we're not playing footy. I said, no, but it's bloody hard work on an old bloke.
This is holding me together.
That's it. So anyhow, we give it a polish, and then over the years, I'd sort of... Phil's a quick learner. So he didn't have a welder when I first met him, so if he wanted something to do, he'd borrow one, I'd go over and give him a hand, and he sort of does all that himself now. He picked all that up. And I used to do a bit of paint work and stuff for him, but he'd prep it, and then I'd just go over and pull the trigger on the gun. But I can't remember how it came about, but I think he clipped the wall, the naps or something, and a little kink in the roof, and he said, that got me to have a look at it and said, can you fix it? I said, yeah, but I want to bare metal it and do it properly. And he goes, there's a lot of paint on it. I go, yeah.
Can't be that much.
Have a look at that. Have a look at the amount of rings there.
Talk about an onion,
So it was a paid job, and Darren and I bare metaled it all the way back and fixed a couple of dents and stuff and give it a coat of paint. And this one here's another shot where I think he forgot to put the protectors on. He's got some plates to stop burning the engine bay. So he fixed it all.
Well, it is a burnout car.
Just went over and squirted a bit of paint on it. But the reason all that's in there is that, that's what we all do as mates in the car game. And then he got the chocolates made at 2011 and won Tough Street. And that's him and Nat chucking a lap.
With the trophy in the back.
Trophy in the back with Jimbo hanging on. So that progression kept going and still continues to this day. And he we're talking one day, he goes, I really like to do something with the wheels, I might paint them. I said, well, if you're going to paint them and you want points, you've got to do more than just paint them. So you paint inside and out, or just do the outer and not the centre, and get a bit creative.
Other people aren't doing.
And Phil's pretty creative. So we sort of come up with the pin line idea over a few bourbons, and I don't think he's let me forget it since, because the amount of time to mask it and paint it was ridiculous. And then they had a bit of trouble trying to get it, it's hard to paint in a wheel, and they were in a bit of a dodgy booth, and his mate was doing it for him. So I had a look and I said, we'll colour sand them and polish them.
Howard to the rescue.
So, I like to get on my knees.
That's
give
what
them
the
a polish.
Knee brace,
Yeah, so it's been good to be involved in that process and see how, someone like Phil progresses, and he's built some really cool cars for himself and for other people now. And it's been interesting to be involved in that process. And then the photo I got here now, so we're still at the shop, and the guy that's doing the deliveries there from Fastway, he says to me one day, do you know anyone that could, re-chrome some bumpers, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, what are they off? And I think he said they were Alfa Romeo or something. And I said, look, bring one in and give me a look. So he brought it in, and I said, these are stainless, I think. So anyway, I checked them out, they were stainless. So I said, I can do them for you. And he goes, really? And yeah, do that.
How hard can it be?
How hard can it be? So I ended up grabbing them off him, and it actually had a couple of dents, where someone had backed into a post or proper dents. So I knocked all those out and sanded them up, run the file over them, and then give them a polish, and Bob's your uncle. And the little strips there, they were really damaged, and I just, you panel beat them, knock them out, shape them up. And when he came to pick them up, he couldn't believe it. And I charged him with bloody pittance, but I'm, new business, trying to get started.
You've learned since then. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
So just another one of those small jobs.
Yeah. So what's going on here, H? You've got stuff pulled apart. I thought you'd finish this car.
Well, I thought we might go back. Some of that's coming up, and some of that's 25.
Yes.
So it's a milestone.
It is. It is.
So I had it in my head that it'd be pretty cool to do a bit of a dedication for Chick. It's your 25 years. You've done really well to get the event to that stage. And I had it in my head. I built a little model way back with an Indy pace car, and it had the pace car down the side and all that sort of stuff. And I thought it'd be cool to get the graphics and all from the event and put them on the car. So I rang the office and talked to someone I knew there to, don't tell Chick this is what I'm going to do. So then when I start looking at the car, I thought, it's, I've done a few miles and it's a bit untidy.
Little touch up.
So as I do, you just start pulling it apart.
Yep.
And, I could paint that and I could do that. And then I might as well take the manifold off. But I was determined not to pull the engine out, as you can see. So I ended up backmasking the whole car. And then all the ancillary stuff that, there's a little thing happening here or something there I wasn't happy with. So anything that had a mark on it, I just pulled it out, and this was pre-spray birthdays. Back out in the dirty room, hang it up there and give it a coat. And then as part of that, the decoration on the car, I started playing around with stripes. So the one there that's got the, a couple of moustaches or something on it. I'm looking for ideas, and there was an XA that came out a bit like that, and one side's XY, the other side's XA. So I'd sort of worked my way through the process, and I'd utilised black plastic and tape and all sorts of things just to get a feel, and this is what I ended up with. So I've got used wrap, and I've got an XA style bonnet, as in the black, and then under the side there's a little bit like the GT350 Mustang, but I played with the idea of putting 302 or something in it, and ended up just doing it plain. And then the 25 there was out of their actual 25th anniversary, which was the Chrome Jubilee, which is across the window, and then the full logo was on the back panel. So that was that sort of process to do a bit of a check this out check. And there's you and I after the cable let go. Loading up, getting ready to go. So what we did with the bonnet, the wrap on the bonnet was a matte wrap with a gloss black print.
Yes.
So when I've photographed it there, that reflection's showing gold, but that was black on black. Yeah. And what a lot of people didn't realise until they sort of heard about it or started reading it is the lines in the bonnet, in the wrap, were all the classifications that I'd won at some stage in that 25 years. And then the little crowns obviously were out of the Astill design logo.
The King of Bling.
The King of Bling. So that was all on there. And there's a few more I could add to that list now.
Maybe we need to redo it.
Need to redo it. So we're getting organised, we're getting it wrapped and the whole thing done. And that's in there, doing the wrap. He printed that up. So we've got all that done, headed down to the Nats, and then this is Owen Webb.
He's going, where's
obviously.
Howard? Where's Howard?
And he's doing the interviews, and it's like, where's Howard? We need to interview Howard. And they're going, no, he's not here, he's in Albury. I said, he's what? Yeah, he's in Albury. So my mate Louis, that's in all the other shows, decides to get married on Summer Nats weekend. So I got the invite and I said, Heather, I'm going to the wedding somehow.
Yeah.
So we took the car down, organised for it to go into Myers marquee, and then Fuzzy was coming over, so I got Fuzz to drive it from the marquee into the pavilion, then him and Rodney and Louise and whoever else they could rope in, set it up on the stand on the Friday night, and then I'd already Yeah, I'd left. I know the wedding might have been on the. Wedding was on the
Friday.
Friday.
Was on the Friday.
Wedding was on the Friday.
So you were back there.
So I've landed back. We got up early and we got back just in time for presentations. So just like that. And that's a photo of Louis and me and Louis and Jane. God, got a name right. So it was a great day. It was really cool. It was a really good, really nice wedding, and we catch up with them still and plan on doing that later this year as well. So that's it set up on the stand, and I'd done a new stand for the book and a few other things, and I genuinely wanted to have another go at Grand Champion because previously, I hadn't done the car from a show point of view, even though it made the 10, and I'm thinking, we'll have a go at it. So I had to go. Didn't win, obviously. I think I muffed one of the driving events or something. And I think people don't necessarily understand it. It's quite difficult to get all of the boxes ticked to get to that point where you have the win. Out on the oval for the Super Cruise, one of Hadfield's little machines behind us. Yep. And then there's part of the crew there. There's Fuzzy and Rodney, Long Ange. And then the driving event. So, and I think the bottom one's outside my home, Building B. So it was a good event, and then I was doing my homework, going through Facey, trying to find the photos, and this one popped up, and I thought, how cool is that? So this is on my page before we had an Astill Design page. So Astill Design cars at Summernats. So we've got Arby's there in Tough Street, Phil's in Tough Street, Jimbo's cruising around in the Mustang. So War 440 got Tough Street overall. And engineered, and I'm trying to read it, Supreme. And then the Mustang went top 10, top pro touring, and PPG Supreme as well. And then Phil got Judges Hardcore Award. So he backed up from his other one.
Not bad for...
not a bad little haul for a one-man band.
Your own car and 2 customer cars.
Yeah. So it was a really good, busy event. Very, very busy event. And then, we get home, we're back into it again, and that little group I was talking about of people, this photo here is over at Phil's place, and they were doing a carby change on one of the boys' cars, Joel, I think it was, car, for Performance Garage. So it was like, we'll do a shoot and all the rest of it. So Sorg's on the camera there, and Adrian, Liam, they were all working for that company and the magazine and stuff. And that was a pretty good day that day. And then from that day, we moved on to where later, a few months later, they actually came over my place and did a shoot there for Performance Garage of what we were doing at Astill Design. And you can see the caddy there, Jimbo's ute, sitting on the ground there with the big wheels under it. And it's funny, see that it looks like it's got a flat wheel on it? That's the spokes reflecting in that big dish, because the dish is like this wide.
It's huge.
Yeah, huge. So that was a top day, and we had a barbie. And
I think you got a prop there too.
I've got a prop here.
You got a prop there, Howard.
So this one's pride of place in the, get the reflection off it, in the games room.
Shed envy.
Shed envy. Yeah.
Always had shed envy of you, Howard.
Yeah, I know, a lot of people have, mate. A lot of people have.
But what's going on here, Adrian? He's up to no good.
So he's got his tablet in his hand there. So he's liaising with the people that are doing the design back at office, and they've sent him a picture out of bloody
the mock-up.
The mock-up. And they're saying, put Howard here.
Okay.
So Adrian, being Adrian, said, have you got a white sheet? So I don't know who was under that. I don't think that's my thumb. That's someone else's. So they dressed it up, took a photo of it, and then sent it back and said, what, like this?
Yeah.
A little bit of humour. It's pretty good. So there's the boys there, Adrian, Liam, Jimbo, looking like the security guard. From Performance Garage.
He's got arms to match his rear wheels. Big.
There, that's it. So then the next thing is, and you've been in a few of these, Dale, was that I started, Friday night was always shed night. And things had moved on. I didn't have a car myself, so it was still, Friday night, shed night. So I started doing a Friday night pizza night. So it was $10 a head, and we just order a whole lot of Domino's pizzas and bring your own drinks if you're having a drink. And it started small, and it sort of grew for a while. We did it for a couple of years.
Great social evening.
Yeah, we did it for a couple of years. And was a really good night, and it started to move into the workshop then. You see, probably recognise a few faces in there, but I can't remember now, but I reckon we got into the 20s for the pizza. You'd ring up and I need 5 of this, 5 of that, and it'd be like 22 or 24 pizzas to feed everybody. But they were good fun and good nights, and we did that for a long time, and I don't know what happened to it. It's like everything, you move on. But yeah, that was the old games room got a bit of use. Yep. And the Mustang just keeps going out and about, mate.
No wonder it did a lot of Ks, mate.
Yeah, so this one's local though. This was Wollongong. So PPG were doing a training night at the local TAFE, at Wollongong TAFE. And they asked me if I could bring the Mustang along, and they had obviously the HSV from down Narraway. Yep. And we were doing that, and lo and behold, because Santino's done a bit of a deal with PPG with his teaching classes, he's there doing the airbrush. How's your memory, mate? For the driver.
It's not good enough.
No. So anyhow, he's doing the picture there, and I'm getting sucked into this airbrush cake.
Yeah, that creative sparkle.
Yeah. Yep. So I had a bit of a chat with Santino at that event, and you'll see where I started doing some lessons with him. So we're back to Power Cruise.
One of your favourite events, I think.
I really, as a participant event, I don't know about nowadays. People talk about nowadays it's a bit out of control, but I mean, you make of it what you may, and you will. But I really enjoyed the fact that you could go there and you know, talk cars and waffle on. And we used to go up Friday, Thursday night, and Friday, Saturday, and head home Sunday. So I used to throw the bag and the esky in, and we had a room where we used to all bunk in and all that sort of stuff. And it was a really good time, and you got to drive the wheels off it.
I think you put some sticky tyres on the Mustang one year.
I reckon that might have been the year. I had a deal going with Federal, and the tyres that were on it were hooking up good, but I just felt like I never knew when it was going to let go. Because at some point in time, you're going to run out of adhesion. All right? So I'm hooking into the corner going, oh, yeah, this is really good, but I just don't feel safe. So I had a chat to them, and they supplied like a track tyre.
Streetable track tyre.
Yeah. Yep. And I put them on it, and what happened then is it would hang on longer, but you could feel it moving, which was cool, because you could then drive to you could find the limit. And I did find the limit. I'm trying to find a video of that because I had my son-in-law with me. So hanging out with the big boys there with all the blown cars, the burnout boys, and it rained, of course.
Of course it did. Sydney.
So this is back in Sydney. This is on the other side of the track.
I know when this was.
When was this, Dale?
This was the Muscle Car Masters on the Father's Day weekend.
True.
And you were on display at the back of the grandstand.
Yep, with mothers.
Yeah.
And we took Louise and
you got to do the cruise around the.
And the deal was, if you come up, we could you'd go out on the track and cruise around.
Yep.
And being Eastern Creek, it rained.
Of course it did.
And it bucketed down. But we still went out and we did a few laps, and I reckon I've got a video of us driving home in some of that rain. So, baby seat in the back.
It's a bit bigger now.
That's for sure. So you just turned 9. Another little job.
Another one.
So Phil's doing some work on a Commodore, and he's telling me he wanted to get this manifold done and how to do it and all that sort of stuff. Well, I said, I'll do it. So I give him a fixed price on it. Probably burnt myself again, but I actually enjoy doing this sort of work. So I ground it up as if I was going to polish it and then give it back to them, and they got it coated. So it was easy to look after.
Yep.
And that came up super nice.
Did.
And where's this? Mount Panorama.
It is. It is.
So,
you got to go to Mount Panorama.
Another one of the crew, from this little crew that I'm now in, is Matty always turns up. We all stay at the same motel at Summer Nats. He lives in Bathurst. He's a crane driver.
Yep.
And he's got a mate that's a crane driver that just happens to own a house on Conrod Strait.
And I mean
on Conrod Strait. So
just before the
better
chase.
known as Robbo.
Robbo. Yep.
Robbo. So Robbo don't mind a good time. So this was, remember Red Foo?
Yes.
That was his Red Food weekend. So this was Mount Panorama Resort.
Yep.
And Phil had headed down and we all stayed out at Matty's place. And that's us in the bar. So that's the bar that was in the ad. I think it was a VB ad with all the signs.
Yep.
Or it was a touring car one, and they had all of the name drivers, you know, Lounsey, that era, Scavey, all that, playing pool and all in this bar, and it was a really cool ad. So we're all in there, and then this is Phil and I sitting. This is in the double-decker bus, and the side's got a roller door. And I think I have to put another photo in there to show you how that works. And then that's us there. I've got my Ford kit on, mate.
No comment.
So's Olivia.
Poor Olivia.
And we had a win. Ford that won that day.
They cry if you don't let them win occasionally.
Out the front of the resort, standing on the track.
So it's right outside the start of the chase.
That's it. Great spot. They can't, that's where they're doing 300. It's right in
Flat
front of
stick.
you. Unbelievable. So where are we? What's going on now, Dale?
I think this is a road trip, Howard.
Road trip. Back to the hill.
First visit for me.
So I've done the deal on the new build, and it's a body and paint deal. So do the rust, get it to a point where someone can paint it, and then I ended up working with Exclusive Customs to paint it, and the rest of the story grows. But so I'd had a chat to them. So the people that owned the car had bought that red GT.
I think she bought it sight unseen.
And it went to Emerald.
Yep.
And they decided that they'd restore it. So they pulled it apart and then took it to a local beater, and then it sat. So they pulled it out of there and give it to someone else that took it to all places to Broken Hill, because both being mining towns, there was people talking to each other. So it went to Broken Hill, and the people I knew in Broken Hill then talked to me about doing it. It's the guy that had it where we picked it up from.
Literally.
You're doing your weightlifting tricks.
Well, you'll see why in the build series why it sat and didn't get much done, because it needed a bit of TLC.
So it got out to we went and picked it up, brought it back, had plenty of problems, and organised a local guy to pull the side out for me because it was in about 30 mil. Dave Cornford did that for me. One of Krieger's does all Krieger's work now, or always has done. And they always stay at the same motel, so it's everyone. Everyone's in the same sort of crew. And then this is the first time I pulled a car down that far.
How hard could it be? Was your famous line? I think you said.
So we better move on, Dale, because the clock's ticking. So that'll be in the build series as well. So it's like number 8, I think.
Interesting build.
And a very interesting build. And then it went from fix the rust, got the filler in it, went to Exclusive. They then painted the car, and once again we got PPG involved. So there's John, and then Mothers, all the crew were involved, and then the boys there at Exclusive did some fine tuning on the body and put a decent coat of epoxy on it, and then we bolted some bits and pieces on. I went up there for the day and took some parts up so that we could take it on a trade stand to promote their business and mine. With the car looking like it did, and it did very well for both of us. So we needed a colour, so the tag on the car was cool mint green, and we happened to, the boys Exclusive had an original Dulux catalogue, so we remixed it in a current style of colour, and that's it in matte. I reckon they look cool in matte. So they had the job to do that, and it came back from there looking like that, and then we started the assembly process. And at the same time, the engine was being built. So that's Sam from West End, and the owner of the car. And names, Dale, how we going?
Mr. Coolmint. I can never remember his name, but he was a big boy.
Rod.
That's it. It was
Rod. See, I knew to get there. Yeah. So Rod and Tracy. God, terrible. So that's on the thrash now the last few days for Summernats, and there we are at the Summernats. I can't remember how many years Summernats we're up to now. So that was pretty much the first time, that photo there, it was Rod had just driven it around the block. So he hadn't driven it. He didn't want to drive it at the Summernats.
No.
And I actually driven the Mustang down, and his car was in my trailer. And it was third top coupe and top 60, which is pretty cool. And then there's some nice shots here that Sorgs did for me, some professional photos. And I mean, he wanted a original style car but detailed, but I don't think he had any concept about what he was going to get when we went down the process.
No.
So you'll see all that in the build series, because obviously I ended up finishing the car completely and then we started the build tags at that stage as well. So all those build will come in that series, all the numbered cars that we've built. So the interesting part was when it went time to go home, they wanted me to take it up in the trailer. I said, look, it's going to cost you a bomb. And it just logistically was way too hard.
This is Emerald in central Queensland, not just, Brisbane.
So they rang me up one day and said, we've made our mind up. We've got tickets. We're coming down to Sydney. We're going to come down. We're going to drive it home.
Okay.
I went, okay, as long as you do a spanner check, because he's an auto electrician.
Yeah.
So they hopped in it, and the video there, they drove it out the drive, and then that was part way up in Queensland somewhere. So they went from here to Bathurst, did a lap of Bathurst, and then drove it home. So we're going to run over tonight, Dale, unfortunately.
Just a little.
I'm not sure how much is left.
Not much.
So I got to a point now where I'm doing a bit of paintwork and stuff, and I needed what I called a booth to do primers and stuff in. So Warren Williams I was having a few games of golf with, was a carpenter or a builder.
A bit of everything.
So I had a chat to him, and we ended up building the spray booth, pretty much like you build a room, and I made all of the frames and all the rest of it, bought a fan, did a whole lot of stuff as cheaply as I could to put it together and have it. So it was a 3-phase fan, and it had an inflow filter.
Yep.
And then proper filters, like a spray booth filters, and then back out the back. So that was just a little sideline thing that we did in that period.
A necessity.
And it's been very, very handy. There's no doubt about that. So, surprise, surprise, the daughter's married. We're now grandparents. So something's out of sequence because she was in the car a minute ago.
That's all right. But there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
This is why we've got another episode.
That's right. So there's Louise at the hospital.
Yep.
Louise and Michael. And then out the front heading home. So the first trip in the car. And of course, like we said, she's 9 now. So it's all growing. Airbrush. Just keeps cropping up.
He's hooked you.
Hooked me in.
Yep.
So I decided I'm going to do it, and I'm telling Phil I'm going to do this airbrush course. He goes, that'd be cool. I might do that too. So him and I both rock up to do the course, and this is I think the first day. This is how you use an airbrush type of day. So we progressed along, and the course was not how to teach you how to draw.
No.
It was how to airbrush a picture. So the picture in the right-hand corner there was what you're going to create, and then they teach you how to do that. And then that's what I created.
Just looks like Audrey Hepburn too.
Yeah, and I mean, that was, I don't know, 3-4 hour nights or something to get to that point. And then this was a later one where they then teach you how to do each component. So you do the hand first, then you do the eye, and then the nose, and then the lips, and you keep working your way through, and you end up with that.
You went all right at that, didn't you, H?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really, really good.
Yep.
So if you ever get a chance, if you're just a little bit artistic or someone in your family is, through this course, like I said, they don't teach you to draw.
No.
They actually teach you how to reproduce whatever you've got there on there in whatever size you want. So yeah, I did enjoy it, and I did see somewhere the other day, it's been about 7 or 8 years, so I probably can't do it anymore because I'd have to go back and have a refresher. Oh, Dale Walton.
There's that mug. That's day one of working. That was
day one of
officially
in my seat.
Yes,
in my
I was
spot.
just keeping your spot warm for you.
So Dale joined me there and had a couple of years, 2.5 years, I think.
2.5 years. Yeah.
So that was through Darren's car and Tailspin and a few others, and then he's been coming and going for years.
Yeah, you can't get rid of me.
Another show. So we drove up to the All Ford Day at Newcastle and stayed with Rude.
Yep.
up there at his place, and
Those are his boys. Yep.
young fellas that are now adults, and me with the trophy. So I give the two young blokes a ride back from the showgrounds back to the house, and then we packed their gear and headed back home. So just clocking up the miles, mate, clocking up the miles. So I said I had a video, so there's the video of us driving home in the rain.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was that show, but it fits about the right spot.
It's about the right timeline.
So the shop, the 5 years is up. We're out of there.
Yes.
So, been a good experience. Employed the daughter for 5 years. Heather and I pretty much worked for 5 years for not a lot of gain. Didn't necessarily lose a heap either. Didn't make any money, but a good life experience. But the games room got a gain because I started selling off all the fittings, and I had trouble selling the cupboards. So the cupboards you see in these photos and stuff now, I pulled out of the shop and brought back here and reassembled them myself in here, and that's now the display cabinets that are in this room came from the shop.
All these trinkets.
All my bits and pieces, yeah, so it's pretty cool. So that sort of finishes, I think we're up to 2014 or 15, thereabouts.
Pretty close.
What I've got now is the reason we've got another episode. Is we have a few more grandkiddies and another wedding and a few things.
There's a bit going on.
But we also did a few more cars. So we'll do a little snapshot of each one of these in the next one before these all then appear in the build series.
Yes.
So a lot of people wouldn't know that I built a little Fiat Bambino, and he was the friend of Rod and Tracy,
Mr.
up in
Coolman.
Emerald.
Yep.
And he races blown boats. But this was his wife's car, so we'll tell that story in the build series. And then Darren's car, so we built Darren his coupe.
Yep.
And then Marco's four-door, the twin
the,
turbo.
Got the scars for that one, but anyway.
Yep. Tailspin.
And the polarising car.
I don't know how we're going to fit that into one episode, but tailspin.
That'll be interesting.
Cobra 400, backed up with Venom.
Yes.
And changed all the drive cars. So we got rid of trucks and trailers and all the other things, and ended up with a couple of red HSVs. Oh, Dale!
Jeez, it is
what
getting
have you done
late.
to me?
It is getting
late. Couple of FPVs.
Yep.
Which we still have today.
I'm slowly converting him.
You're slowly converting.
It's all good.
So I think that rounds me out. Oh no, one more.
There's always
So
30
people that follow me really closely would know that Rock 3 went back to Summernat's 30 for the 30th anniversary, and we had the opportunity to get that back here and put about 100 odd hours into it to tidy it up so it could go there and put on a show.
Yep.
So we'll be able to put some of that in. I'll probably put a bit more of that in because it won't have a build series, because it'll be built. It'll probably have a bit in the build series when we do it, because it'll be about the third or fourth one. That'll all be next time.
Yes.
Thank you very much for hanging in there, because we've gone 5 minutes over our hour.
Yeah.
But
That's first.
there was a lot to do, and we must have waffled on a bit too much early.
That'd
Thanks for joining us. Click the buttons. Subscribe to the channel.
Yep.
We've just made our 1 millionth view last week, and we've hit 10,000 subscribers.
10,000 subscribers. Yeah.
So thank you
Excellent.
very, very much for all of you people that have done the right thing and make the comments, because that's helping us to do what we do with YouTube.
Thanks to Lovell's Automotive Systems to support the
Supporting-
channel. Keep us going.
And keep a lookout for us at the
Yeah,
shows.
look,
Dale and I have got our new shirts.
He's got flash new clothing.
So all 4 days, the next one.
Yep.
So thanks again, and
See you soon.
thanks, Dale.
Thanks, Howard.
Bye-bye.